All right, good evening and welcome to the January 29th meeting of the Board of Selectmen. If you'd all rise for a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening and thanks for coming. Sorry we're a few minutes late getting going. We had an earlier meeting. Any announcements from the board? Probably a little premature to make the announcement that the town clerk gave us right on the elections. So we're a month or so ahead of that. We don't have any appointments this evening. Hearing a delegation, since none. Correspondence, we'll go through this quickly as we're going to spend most of this meeting discussing second quarter financial review. Correspondence, the Treasurer's Weekly Financial Reports, Representative Libby's e-newsletter, Maine Municipal Association's January 18th Legislative Bulletin, highlighting the impacts of the governor's proposed budget on local property taxes. We might dwell on that just a minute tonight, but assessing agents, report to Waterboro, a letter from the Department of Health and Human Services, review of general assistance. We do have a confidential letter that came in, a letter from Maine Department of Economic Community Development, which is a letter of intent to apply for the Community Development Block Grant, and that is the process that we're working with RSU 57 on their water main extension to the to the elementary school. Went to reports and staff initiatives. Assessing agent discuss and vote to approve FY 2013 supplemental tax assessment and abatements. I don't know if Jerry's got to be in here for that, but probably need him for some level of explanation. And I'm not sure whether Christina went to get him or... While we're waiting for Jerry. Code enforcement officers discussed the vote to approve a revised consent agreement. Comes Jerry, so we'll drop back to him. Somebody needs to get Mark. Christina, you gonna bring Mark in?
Yes.
Yeah. All right, Jerry, let's talk supplementals.
Supplementals, you should have the document before you. And there are two normal ones. Don't mean that for disrespect, but the others are disposal systems. We have 3 contracts for repair or malfunctioning disposal systems, and that's also included. You're looking at a supplemental total of $22,858.58. This is monies that would come to the town once collected. If you have any questions, I can answer those.
So the 2 assessments for the septic are the...
You should have 3.
3, I'm sorry.
Yeah, 2 at the top would be the...
Yeah, all right, got it. So we make that as a special assessment because they are obligated to pay back the town, right?
Yes, and then if they don't, then we can lien the property.
Right.
And the amounts are taken from the contracts that were signed by both parties, the
Yep.
town and the homeowner.
So what's your pleasure, folks?
Have they been paying on these?
No, they have not been committed yet.
Oh, okay.
Do I have a motion? Or is everybody just still reading? What would you like to do?
a motion to approve the 2013 supplemental tax assessments and abatements as prepared, presented by the agent.
Second?
I'll second that.
All right, any discussion? The abatements are mostly personal property tax.
Yeah, they're the, part of that uncollectible series that, when we went through with the collection agency, these are the ones that are, never made it to that level, or more than 6 years old, except for the top one. The top one was, the industrial plan on 202. They sold, moved, and had a half-year payment too.
All right, any other questions, comments?
Have we put in place any plan to prevent a similar occurrence from happening with regards to the 6-year time limitation, so that we can keep a better handle on that, so we don't lose taxable property?
Yes, we never had before. We just kept years and years and years and years. We could put a marker on those that are running close to 6. There are, well, we could decide that we would do it. We don't have a policy, but if you're thinking that we ought to run on personal property, there's no, the lien process is very difficult, so we'd have to use the same method we used to collect it before.
So given that, if you could maybe sketch out a policy that the board could adopt that would say start at 3 years or 4 years and initiate at least a review. So if you could bring that back to us, that would be, doesn't have to be complex, it's just something that says,
No,
hey,
just something we could follow and all understand that it's got time.
any other questions or comments? Okay, sensing none, all those in favor of approving the supplemental taxes and the abatements as noted? All those opposed? Motion carries. Code Enforcement Officer, we're changing some of the language on what we voted on last week. Any questions of Mark before we look for a motion? What a quick explanation for everybody.
Certainly. Last week, this board approved a consent agreement with the JW Group that had built a house too close to Ospey Hill Road. We prepared a consent agreement. It was approved and signed by this board, and unbeknownst to me, I received an email while I was standing here at the podium with my cell phone on silence from the bank. They wish to have one paragraph inserted into that consent agreement that says essentially that this agreement carries with the property forever and ever to any future homeowners. It's just a one small paragraph they'd like inserted into that. So if you would approve that and read and sign another copy of it, that matter will be put to bed.
So
My belief that the words probably were sufficient anyway, but that's,
I thought so, but
so Dave, you moved to approve it, you have a second?
second.
Any discussion? Doesn't change the fee or anything else, right? All those in favor? Opposed?
thank you.
Motion carries. Thanks, Mark. And probably, it might help in the, not to say that we're gonna get a lot of these, but we ought to have something that is our words approved by our attorney before we go into those things, right? We do? Okay. Right. Thank you. Road Commissioner, you got any reports, Doug, other than just the budget we're gonna go over, or?
Just the budget, and, you know, I'm gonna be gone for a few days, in a couple of weeks, before I go, you know. We've done a lot of work down the town, but I think the majority of the board has seen what we've done, and I didn't know that maybe everybody could just take kind of a look at what we got and what improvements we've made down there. If you have any interest, you know, we could meet down there 5 or 5:15 and we could look around and if you got any suggestions or whatever.
Everybody, I mean, if you can make it, you make it, we'll just pencil it in for, we'll plan on doing that. As the week progresses, we'll see if we can make sure that everybody does it. We'll put it on the schedule anyway.
It's just been a big
Want to
difference
set a
down
time,
there.
like 5 o'clock?
Huh? Yeah, we'll say 5 o'clock, 5:15, if you're not there, then we're probably getting ready to head back. So,
5 o'clock when?
If we don't
Next
post a
Tuesday night.
notice, we can't do it.
Next
So,
Tuesday night,
Okay.
before the meeting.
notice it here publicly that we're gonna do it, and then we put a notice up, and, you know, it's not gonna be a meeting, it's just, you know, there may not be more than 1 or 2 of you there at a time anyway, but we can be there at 5 o'clock. Okay?
Donuts, coffee, no?
If you'd like, we do have a coffee machine down there, not purchased by the town, it's purchased privately. We
Go to the
have
transfer station, get leftovers.
Yeah,
a used refrigerator that was donated.
that came from the transfer station.
No, it didn't, I don't think it did actually.
Oh,
I think a town person had that and decided to donate it, so, and, so we're bugging away.
okay.
Would you like a small microwave?
Just gotta think what they are.
Did you have that,
We got
yeah?
one. I'm not sure.
Put
but
the stuff
we'll have
in
to
there,
look.
close the door, push the button, and it heats it up.
Yeah.
All right.
We got a Keurig coffee maker.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay. Selectmen's reports, anything? Anything from the selectmen?
No, thank you.
Okay, John, go, 'cause my,
I've report on the library meeting the other night. They are waiting for work to start. I guess Pete's going to start working on the bathroom in the library. And once that is done, the back room, right off the children's room, will be turned into a reading room, and they've got some funds from the Friends of the Library to put in a couple of big reading chairs, and so people can come in and read newspapers and magazines or something. It's especially, I think, maybe effective for older citizens that come in and talk and read in the back room. So that's a plan. They've got a lot of things coming up and events coming up in February and March. March 16th is a children's craft workshop in the library. February 14th is a children's workshop on healthy food. So there's a book sale on March 23rd in the library. So there's and I can get more information as those dates get closer, but so a lot happening with the children every month, and there's some adult things with the book sale, and also they have some money too, and looking to actually raise some more money through a silent auction to purchase a few e-readers, and they're not going to start out with a couple of them and see how they go over, and so that the public could come in and check an e-reader out for a couple of weeks. So that's some of the things that are happening there.
okay. Anything else? Tammy?
Had the York County Budget Committee meeting last Wednesday evening. It was the public hearing on the budget. And as a result of that, several towns attended the meeting and asked the Budget Committee to reconsider the budget and hold off on switching fiscal years based on the governor's proposal to eliminate revenue sharing and the impact that's going to have on communities. Several letters were presented to the county manager asking that the commissioners not change over to fiscal years. So it was quite a bit of discussion. What the county manager represented was that if there was no change and they stayed with the fiscal year as is, or the calendar year as is, there would have to be an increase in the proposed budget of $105,000, $108,000. And he said that basically the commissioners had already made their mind up that they were transitioning to the fiscal year, that the process had been it's been ongoing for the past year. There was a lot of work that they had to do to lead up to it, and he didn't see where the commissioners would be agreeable to holding back on that change. It was brought up that the communities should be going to the commissioners and not to the budget committee. It's not the budget committee's authority to set what the fiscal year is going to be. It's up to the commissioners. And I actually agree with that point based on the statute. So it was asked that the county commissioners have a meeting and allow input from the municipalities on if they want to see that change or not. The 12-town group had voted to ask for a change where they reconsider holding off for a year on the changeover to fiscal year. I emailed you a copy of that letter. What has been suggested is that all of the communities, if you're interested in asking the county to not change over to a fiscal year, to send a similar letter to the commissioners or attend the meeting that they're going to have on February 2nd, February 6th. What the Budget Committee ended up doing in the end was proposal was made to table the vote on the budget until the next commissioners meeting so that municipalities would have the opportunity to go to the commissioners and ask them to reconsider. That passed with 9 in favor and 5 opposed. I was actually opposed. I think that this transition has been happening. It's going to happen, and I don't think that anything was gained by postponing the budget any further. So that's what's going to happen with that. It was voted that it's been tabled. So right now, because we're already into the new budget year for county can spend up to 80% of the last budget. So they actually have more leeway to spend more money between now and when the budget is settled. So hopefully there's going to be that meeting on the 6th. The Budget Committee will be meeting and hopefully finally get a budget voted on and resolved. The other thing that is occurring is the York County Commissioners invited the Budget Committee to attend a joint workshop that the commissioners would like to share with the Budget Committee what their views are on the Budget Committee's role in the budget process. There was some discussion that evening that it was going to be a joint agenda. However, the agenda was sent out today, and it's very clear that the commissioners will be running this workshop, and it is their agenda and not a joint agenda. So that will be tomorrow evening at 6 o'clock, the York County Government Building in Alfred, if anybody's interested in attending that.
Okay.
I think I have to agree with Tammy, which I don't agree with the commissioners very often, but this has been in process for a year or so, and I think it's kind of too late to stop the movement.
And if we were supposed to vote on the budget 2 weeks ago, it got postponed because it was a storm. If it wouldn't have been for that storm, we would have voted on the budget that night. It wouldn't have changed anything. The governor's proposal doesn't mean that it's gonna go through. I think, Aaron's here, so he might shed some light on what's gonna happen with that. But the argument is that, your county towns are gonna take an $8 million hit. Well, you're getting 18 months of service, you're paying for 18 months of service. You're not getting an extra hit. You're paying for the services that you're receiving, and you have an option. If you can't afford to pay it all up front, you have the option of spreading it out over 5 years. Some of the municipalities were saying it's too much all at once. Given the governor's proposal, it's not a good time. When is it ever going to be a good time? It's the commissioners are committed to doing it. Get it done.
I agree, and I thought of this as soon as when I read the request from the 12-town group, and you don't like to go against the 12-town group because they are us, On the other hand, can you say that next year is going to be any better? So you can't keep on putting this off. And if you knew that this was the worst of years, and next year would be a better year, then okay, maybe you can ask to put it off, but you don't know that.
Yeah, and I think they've already borrowed the money, let's face it. The works, there's no tax money for this 6-month fiscal year.
Right.
They've borrowed that money. It's already been borrowed.
They haven't borrowed it yet. They will borrow it as needed. Right now, they're going into the surplus.
They're working off their surplus. But the bottom line is I think we're now 29 days into the new fiscal year. I'm not sure you can now stop it, or it makes sense to stop it. And it's either it's the Fram filter guy, right? You pay me now, you can pay me later.
Exactly.
So. Yeah, I wouldn't suggest that we take any action unless there's some violent opposition to that. We'll move on. All right. Anything else from the board? Nancy?
I just have, I'm glad Aaron is here too to, with all that is proposed up in Augusta, our tax rate would take a 4% increase to cover for it. And I know yesterday they had the public hearing on the general assistance. I haven't heard anything what took place on that where the municipalities will not be required to provide assistance if they reasonably anticipate that they will not be reimbursed by the state.
That's the proposal?
Yeah.
That's not going anywhere.
No, that's not. Yep. So I haven't heard. Have you heard how that went yesterday in the hearings?
I mean, obviously it's just a public hearing, so it would take, for or against, and either for or against. I don't believe the work session has been scheduled for that yet, but
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of rhetoric going around right now, right, with public hearings and this and that, but the real meat and potatoes start when the hearings start, right? Oh, the workshops with them. Anything else, Nancy? Aaron, you got anything?
sure. Obviously, first and foremost, the biennial budget is not even at our doorstep technically, and we're right now just, the appropriations committee is just doing public hearings on the supplemental budget. So everything on, it's a proposal, it's not, we're not discussing that yet because we have to fix the budget first. We have to pass this supplemental budget first, and probably within the next week or two, that's when that will come out. And then as soon as that's done, that's when appropriations will start the work and the public hearings on the biennial budget. And that's when we'll start to get an idea of what the appropriations committee is going to put out to be voted on. And then of course you still have amendments on top of that too. So it's definitely going to be interesting. In the last 2 years, the 6 budgets, 5 of them were 2/3. So you have bipartisan, obviously, on that. So it's going to be kind of a little bit, obviously, with the new makeup of the legislature, it's going to be kind of interesting to see what happens with that. The supplemental budget, working on it's a $112 million shortfall, so obviously a huge fall. $40 million of it's coming out of the rainy day fund. the curtailment package, which didn't have much pushback, or I mean, most of the departments, from what I've heard, is accepting and kind of knew that was going to happen. So, and then a few other new liquor contract and things like that. So they come up with that, but that's what the Appropriations Committee is working on right now, and should be voting on that one next week or two. And then I know as much as you guys want to hit me on the revenue sharing and stuff like that, but to be honest, it's not at the doorstep yet until we get past the supplemental.
I mean, you've obviously heard what the governor's proposal
Correct.
is as
Yeah.
far as revenue sharing goes. What is your feeling on eliminating revenue sharing for municipalities?
I think I can look at it both ways. A lot of the towns and cities that are, it's 3 to 5% in a lot of the budgets. Some of the education cuts are the ones that actually hit, a little bit more deeper than the revenue sharing. I think what you're kind of seeing from the executive side is basically, every time they try to make a cut or try to find money, try to slow it down or move it around, it's, well, don't cut me, cut somebody else. And I think what with this is possibly just saying, okay, you guys find the cuts then. If nothing else, if no one wants to cut anything. What I kind of have a problem with, or what makes it a little bit difficult for me to say, I truly believe that the budgets need to take cuts. We need, everyone at home is taking cuts. The budgets are too big. We have to cut the spending. Problem is the total budget doesn't actually go down, which that makes it difficult for me to say, because there's some actually other increases that I truly am not sold on yet. Obviously, through the appropriations work sessions and public hearings, let's try to get some more information. But there's definitely some increases in the budget that, at the moment, I'm not necessarily in agreeing on. But
So are you
not
saying,
voting on it now yet.
are you
so.
saying you're in favor of revenue sharing cuts?
I think we desperately need to make cuts. There's no doubt about that.
And you recognize that with what they want to take from the town of Waterboro, it's going to increase taxes on the local taxpayer about $1 in the mill rate?
It's not. You can't say that right out the back. I mean, it's to keep everything. If you're going to keep spending the same, then obviously the money has to come from somewhere. But to say that it comes from that, the bottom line is the amount of money that's being spent. All right, you accumulate, you add up what the state's spending and what the town's spending, the county's spending. It's still coming out of the back pockets of the person, regardless. Whether the town spends it all, or whether the state spends it all, or one way or the other. Now, if both are increasing, or if one increases and vice versa, there's a difference there. But that's basically what with that action is what it's saying is, here's the cut. Now you have to obviously make the cut, or you make the choice whether the town itself makes the cut or makes the increase. It's putting the ball in the court of the town.
Well, I think that the ball kind of has been in our court as far as making some very difficult decisions over the past couple of years. I think our budget has taken a tremendous hit. We've cut down the hours of our employees. Most of our staff lost 20% of their pay. Our town hall's only open 4 days a week now. We've eliminated some services within town. We don't have any places else in our budget that we can cut. We've been responsible. And now, if the state takes that money out of the pockets of the municipalities, we have no choice if we want to continue providing a quality service to the residents, a service that they've been telling us they want. It's going to impact our residents tremendously.
Well, I don't have the stat right off the top, but do you know the percentage of revenue sharing on the budget?
For us?
Yes.
It's what, 3.6%, something along those
Well,
lines?
that's with all the cuts,
That's with
not
everything.
just, that's
With
not.
everything.
Right, but just revenue sharing, like I said, is like 3 to 5% on most of the municipalities, and you could look at it two different ways. You could say most individual households have cut a lot more than 3 to 5% out of their budgets. So you can't say that you can't find it, but obviously when you look at the town of Waterboro where they spend, obviously the municipality side of it isn't the largest coin out of that dollar, but.
Not by a long shot.
But it does take a bite out of, when you look at the total tax rate, and you look at that we're $500,000 in revenue sharing, or $400 and some odd $1,000, it's $800,000 represents $1 on our tax rate, right? That's just out of the municipal side of the spending. It's not, the tax rate is $800 grand for $1, right? That includes the school. Now you're saying, well, when the revenue sharing kind of, okay, you could say, well, that's across everything because it comes in during the calculation. But it really affects the actual municipal spending on the municipal side, not the education side. So it is a significant piece. Now, I've been an advocate for years. Take the revenue sharing back to the state of Maine and leave us alone. Okay? Stop telling us what we have to do and when we have to do it. And you can keep the $400,000.
To go
So-
to 55%.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, and then get to 55% like you're supposed to do, or the state's supposed to do, not you, but, all right. So there are a whole lot of things that I think will come out of this, in this argument, right? And is it, yes, is there $400,000 that we can scrub? Probably can do that, right? It's gonna affect services. And then you gotta look at, okay, what is it really saving on the state side? What is the state not cutting? Because they're not cutting anything, it's just, they don't have the revenues, right? This is all a revenue problem, because we haven't stopped spending to the extent that we need to stop spending. All we're doing is we've got revenue shortfalls.
And that was the first thing that I mentioned.
Right.
That's my biggest issue is that it's difficult when there's cuts, but then it's not, the total package is not cut. Because if you look at it, if the state cut its spending, so obviously then there's taking less from the people. Then if you can actually keep that, even though the state cuts and spends less, so it takes less out of the people, and the town increases that amount, either chooses to or not to do that, it can actually be a neutral across the board. But if the state obviously cuts spending, but cuts the money to you guys and not cutting spending, so then they're still taking the same amount, and then now, whether the town chooses or not to increase that, so now it's actually more coming out, and that's where I'm getting caught up on it. That's why I said there's increases in spending in that budget that I have at the moment do not.
So who's floating the idea that leave all the revenue sharing alone and increase the sales tax by 2 cents?
Well, that's been talked about.
Kind of spreads it across everybody in the state of Maine instead of just the taxpayer, right? Or the property taxpayer, I should say. And I'm not in favor of that, but I guess it does make a bigger sink, right?
It does.
There's another issue here too. One of the things about revenue sharing, you've got communities that have and have not communities in the state of Maine. You've got some communities that have wide tax bases that have quite a bit of funds coming in. Scarborough, you've got Kennebunkport, Cape Elizabeth, those on the other side of I-95. And then you got some communities that have have very limited income, and so do their residents. Now, you're taking away from everybody, and the governor says, okay, you have a choice to keep your programs and pay for them at home, or cut the programs. So the have-not communities get blasted. And what it does is it takes out any kind of equity in funding. It reduces that equity in funding for the have-nots, and that's my concern right there. Is you got some towns that just have to cut services. They don't have a choice because they do not have any more tax revenues. And you got other communities who can say, okay, we can pay for this locally.
Now, how the revenue sharing is not a red flag you per se.
Well,
But,
I
okay,
wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that.
I can accept that. How about adding the education cuts and the addition of the employee retirement plan back onto the towns? I mean, there's a cost.
Well, I mean, when you look at it, there's no way around it. The school system is the largest, section of that, the dollar or the property tax. So, it's why I said, a month or two ago, I said, we definitely have tough decisions coming up, and it's not going to be easy. Not necessarily going to be the fun or cuts. Definitely need to be made, and and that's what we're going to be seeing, as we work through this in the coming, hopefully we can get a budget out by June, X
Yeah.
date. So
Cuts-
it's gonna be it's months ongoing.
I know, cuts is one thing, but this is a total philosophy change. The United States was founded on education is good, all right? And the government will supply that. They're going back, the state is going back and saying, okay, the towns are responsible totally. The state has no obligation, or very little. They're cutting back and cutting back and cutting back. And it goes to what John said. You have some communities that can afford it, and some communities cannot. And so we have this, again, the haves and have-nots. Now, to me, the state has a moral obligation as well as a future obligation to our civilization to educate people. There's some dilemmas here that I think people have to look at beyond the dollar sign.
Well, I mean, you say beyond the dollar sign, but, if you're bankrupting, the societies, the families, I think we definitely are coming to a, breaking point. There's no doubt about it. When you've got a federal government that's, $100 trillion in debt, you're beyond, paying back these bills. So
Well,
I think we do need change.
we can
philosophical
talk
thoughts,
about the
but-
federal government all we want. I was talking to the guy today, and we both agreed that all federal electors should be elected once, then shot. All right? Because
should
that
have
would
term
take care
limits.
of that situation.
a little bit on the harsh side.
Well, it is a
but,
little bit on the hard side, okay? We were joking, but
Yeah.
there's some seriousness there too.
Term limits was bad.
But, term limits are not working.
This will be on the Today Show tomorrow.
But you know,
But no, let me just finish that. But the state cannot say, oh, the federal government, because the towns are doing the same thing to the state. It's somewhere we have to get together here and say, okay, what can we afford?
Correct.
The state keeps passing these guidelines or mandates, the federal government keeps passing them. We're tired of it.
and I think,
I'm tired of it.
and I think what, and it's easy for us to kind of throw some darts at you, Aaron, because you're standing in front of us.
I got the dark.
It would be nice if a group of York County legislators would set up a session, and it's gotta be just a discussion. It can't be, it really has to be, what about this, what about that? If you start to look at it, and there's people that are affected in the room, right? Ask Matt what the cost of running a fire department would have been 15 years ago had the state not implemented all kinds of changes, okay, or mandates. General assistance is the same thing. You look at 15 years ago what we paid for general assistance before we were mandated to do certain things. And oh, by the way, the state will reimburse you, right? But you still had a mandate of what you had to do, all right? And that goes on and on. Education's the same way. Talk to an educator that was around 20 years ago and ask them what we do today with kids in the school that we didn't do 20 years ago, and are we producing a higher level of education today because we do a lot of things that have nothing to do with education.
And a lot of it comes to the federal,
Right.
level department.
And it's all, let's go back to the 70s when there wasn't a U.S. Department of Education, right? I graduated high school before then, and I might twitch and have a few abnormalities, but I can at least function, right? So evidently, the Department of Education on the U.S. level that hasn't helped me.
Cross it off. That sounds
Anyway,
good to me.
So,
Take that off the book.
but it really is a session where I think there has to be, some real impact discussions on what's going on.
That's on February 9th.
Yeah, we meet.
Yeah,
of course
but
it
that's
is-
gonna be, that's gonna be all niceties, and it's gonna be
I don't
touchy-feely.
think so.
Obviously the revenue sharing is in the top three. It always, now they're only going on my third
Yeah,
year.
but it's easy to scream about revenue sharing issues when the real issue is leave the towns alone with regulations, building codes, fire codes. The list goes on and on and on. And if, okay, I'll take your word for it. If that forum on the 9th, is it?
Yep.
Works, then so be it. But
I would
my
like
guess
to-
is that'll be all peaches and cream and niceties and.
No, I mean,
I would like to
do
invite-
agree 100% on what you're saying about, the dictating and telling, that's critical, it's huge. And I know, in my short time of being in this, is always looking at that bottom line, this unfunded mandate, dictating. I don't like when the federal government does it, and I don't like when the state does it, and vice versa. But that's not, unfortunately, in the last 20 years, you've had, as you well know, you've had, no, this sounds like a great idea, this sounds like a great idea, and then it goes right through that, and it gets implemented, and then, down the road, now you gotta deal with the complications of it. And it does go hand in hand.
I would like to invite Aaron to sit in on a couple of budget meetings. One, we can tell you what it's going to cost if we keep the services available right now to the citizens of Waterboro, what it will cost them in taxes in order to reduce our budget by $475,000 or whatever. Or you can look at also, if we cut that $475,000 out of the budget as it stands now, what it's going to look like and what it does as far as reduction of services to the citizens of Waterboro. So I know you have a strong philosophical hold on reducing spending and reducing the size of state government. I know that, but also look at it. I would like to have you look at it in reality, what it actually means to the budget and the budget process, to either what are we going to cut out or what are we going to add into people's taxes. What does it mean to a person with a $175,000 home to put that extra $400,000 into their $450,000 into this budget? And what does it mean if we don't put it in by reduction of services?
And that's fine, I definitely, but again, bottom line is, whether the state's, pays your whole budget or not, or whether you guys pay the whole budget or this or that, it's still coming out of the back pockets of that person. And that's my biggest concern, is keeping their money, the ones that earn it, in their back pocket.
Well, everybody wants the services, no one wants to pay for them.
Yes.
So, but on the other hand, the reality comes down when we're sitting here is to say, how much do people pay for and how much do they want, and are we representing the public? Because if we cut too much out of it, they're going to come in and say, we want those services. And if we give the services, then there's going to be some people coming in and say, we don't want to pay for them.
Yeah. The reality is that the state needs to stop using the municipalities as a scapegoat.
I mean, they even want to take excise tax.
Yeah.
Portion of our excise.
But
The
only
excise tax,
for those.
the circuit
those
breaker
trucks.
program,
Only for
there's
those trucks.
there's a lot of.
Homestead exemption.
So listen,
Homestead.
we can beat this then.
And keep
for us.
beating
Like
Aaron
I
up.
said,
We have,
bottom line,
we need to go through
It's-
a budget review ourselves, so.
we'll be dealing with this, in the months and months to come.
We'll come back every week, because this at least gets some of the tension off from the board, if we're able to.
Glad I'm here to help in that. Cut down on the.
What I'd like you to do, Aaron,
Yes.
is, I think that this budget cuts is smoke and mirrors. Because the state is cutting their budget, they're not, only by deferring the cost to the municipalities. So their bottom line is gone down, so they can sit back and say, yeah, we cut the budget, look, we did this, we did this, we did
And we
this.
did raise taxes.
But they transferred those costs to the municipality, just as he was mentioning the school system. Who's going to pay for that retirement? Of course, the school is going to increase their budget. Who ends up paying for that? The 6 towns that contribute to RSU 57. Their taxes are going to go up, but the state, no, they made cuts. Well, I think it's smoke and mirrors cuts.
Well, like I said, as I said, I think budgets do need to be, decreased. I mean, everyone at home is decreasing, businesses are decreasing they're cutting their budget.
But make it a true decrease, not a shift of responsibilities or priorities.
No, and that has to go across the board.
And in order to cut the next level, we'll say, out of municipal services, then you're going to have to change the requirements of what those municipal services look like. I mean, it's interesting that we're all sitting here talking about cutting, and you've got some brethren up there, right, on both parties, that are looking at how can we better serve the citizens by changing the right to know laws, which are gonna cost the municipalities more money, right? So on the one hand, we're saying let's cut things, and on the other hand, we're publicizing these meetings, we're recording all of this stuff, and yes, it's nice, but that doesn't come on the cheap. So, and you know, they're gonna come back with a whole nother litany of requirements this year for the right to know, which are gonna add more restrictions and costs to the municipalities. So, you can't do it both ways.
No, it definitely goes hand in hand, letting
So feel free, we're meeting Thursday night, we're meeting Saturday morning, and we're meeting the following Thursday.
But keep in mind, on February 8th at Eco Maine, 7:30 in the morning, they invited your committee for a breakfast at Eco Maine.
Okay.
You remember that?
Friday morning.
I think it's Friday morning, yeah. So if you
So-
can make that,
To close on the budget, like I said, months of negotiations, talking, and it could be, heck knows, 3 months down the road, there may be something completely different that you guys are mad about. So
I'm
it
sure
could
there
be
will be.
completely different, sharing. So that being said, I did want to add just a couple of things. Just any small business owners out there, anyone that I think they have a great idea. Gorham Savings Bank is actually running a really cool award program called Launchpad. And what you need, just go to their website. There's 4 questions, fill out your information, and it's a $30,000 award for the best idea. There's rounds of all that kind of stuff. All the information you can find out at Gorham Savings Bank. But the best idea will win $30,000, no string attached, not a loan. It's $30,000 for your idea for a new business or existing business. So I think it's kind of a neat thing that a local bank is doing for local business here in the area. So Gorham Savings Bank, just go on their site, all the information and all that kind of stuff. $30,000 for an idea. So
Along that line, Aaron, I mean, we're starting to rejuvenate the economic development in town here. So if you have thoughts or ideas, appreciate you passing it on.
The biggest thing is on businesses is the energy cost, and that's one thing. Obviously, on the serving on the energy committee, trying to get the energy cost. That's what we hear from nationally and globally. The company, a big company to come in, that's what they're looking at. For first time, we're starting to see now the wholesale rate on energy is starting to come down a little bit. The T&D cost has been increasing, but the actual wholesale rate, and it's really, we look at natural gas, to bring that in, and that's a huge positive of bringing in, a cleaner form of energy and a much more efficient to save money. So really working on the energy committee to try to bring, more capability of natural gas throughout the state. Just about every single other state averages about 60% form of energy through natural gas, and the state of Maine's 60% of the availability to customers, and the state of Maine's about 5%. So, we really need to work on getting, more to it. And it's not only needing a pipeline; it's actually truckable natural gas. So you can actually, a community could have pipelines in their community, and then have it actually trucked in to feed it. So and then actually would be like a bridge years down the road when a pipe feeder actually comes in. So it's pretty neat to see, and I think that's what you can try to find is a huge anchor, big industry, and then you can feed the communities from there. So moving forward, obviously, it's great to try to help that and push that towards that and open that market up to it.
Do you know on a pipeline, if it comes through a community, is there any revenues to the community when that pipeline goes through the?
Well,
if you had a pipeline go right through the middle of Waterboro here, is there any kind of rental?
Yeah, I think normally what you would see is they follow whether it be the CMP pole lines or railroads and things like that. So you don't, from what I've gathered from those large transit they're looking for corridors or existing corridors to feed into. But yeah, I mean that would take a place.
There is an incentive other than just getting natural gas to Maine. There would be an incentive for if it came through particular communities, they may get some revenue.
Obviously on the state, you're looking like I-95 and stuff like that. There's huge incentives, on that trying to get a pipeline through 202 here, but haven't heard anything yet. But it'd be nice to have it come through Waterboro. May help the economic development on 202 for industry, but we'll
It's
see.
not that Sandor pipeline.
Now,
Yeah, the
if,
one that just has oil in it.
let's say Waterboro is sitting on top of 17 trillion cubic whatever of natural gas, okay? And we started exporting. I mean, I don't know how that would work, but do you think the state would tax some of that gas as far as if we're exporting it, or how does that work?
Well, first to burst the bubble, no one thinks that the state of Maine has any natural gas.
Oh, I know that. I'm just saying, if we did, would it be taxable by the state?
You know, well, what doesn't the state tax?
Water's not.
Yeah, that's too.
Well, that's what I'm leading up to.
But yeah, I mean, obviously there's a push, you know, as for the water extraction, you know, I don't necessarily agree with that. And
Well, I mean, water is gold. 20 years
It's a
from now,
commodity.
a gallon of water is going to be very valuable.
it's a commodity, no doubt about
You know?
it.
And I
Certainly-
think the state is
Certainly an issue
stupid
that needs to be
that
discussed.
they're not benefiting by whoever's exporting to foreign countries and other parts of the United States, that we are not getting some type of fee from that.
Well, then, you know, you look at that and you get, you know, agriculture obviously is a huge, you know, extraction of for water, and so if you're gonna tax, you know, the extraction, how, you know, where do you draw that line for agriculture? You know, you say, all right, you're talking about the plant down the street. You know, a lot of people just say, well, we'll put a penny, you know, per gallon. Well, they already make a penny, you know.
I am
as it is,
talking
so,
exportation of water out of state of Maine.
Where do you think most of that water goes? It's
I
not
know,
around.
you know? So the
Listen,
thing about farming doesn't hold up unless you
is
Partial.
as fun as this is,
Yeah.
we need to move on.
Okay, just one other thing I did want to add. Another thing I saw was really good for small business in the area. The Massachusetts Center for Learning is doing a couple of sessions in the coming months on like social media, website design. So if you don't have a website or you're not on social media for a small business, you know, if you're worried about it or scared about it, if you go down to the Massachusetts Center for Learning, the Adult Learning, they're having a couple February 27th, March, just couple in the next few months that I think would be really beneficial if you're not at the emailing list and social media and Twitter and all that stuff. So
Is that free or is that?
there's a fee of $15. I did hear that I believe WAB is going to be paying, if you're a member, for the first X amount, but you'd have to check with that. But I think it's worth if you're not already on it, it's definitely beneficial for your business. So, in my opinion. All right.
Good.
Any other darts?
Thanks.
Good night.
Thank you.
Look forward to seeing you again.
As always.
Tammy,
All right.
that February 9th, is that, what time is that, 10?
At 10 a.m.
10. In the
That's
old
at the
jail?
government.
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Okay, new business. We'll discuss, vote to schedule public hearing on Tuesday, February 9th, 6 PM. Snow date of February 26th. This is the public hearing for the Public Infrastructure Grant application for the CDBG, which is the partially funding of the water extension. This will be, we have to run it for RSU 57, because the CDGB will be in the name of the town. But, so I would presume RSU 57 is picking up the advertising on this? Okay. So, is everybody good with that night?
Yep.
So someone wanna make a motion?
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor? All right, moving along, so there will be an evening after this. Conduct second quarter review. Nancy's put the package together, it's in our packet. We just flow through this. If there's any questions, throw a hand up and we'll stop. But I'm gonna go through Nancy's spreadsheets here, which is general government. I think you can see everything that's there from a revenue perspective. And then on the expenditures, the only question I have, and I'll ask this of every department, I guess, are there any risk or anything that we see that may prohibit us from making the budget? I would presume on this there's none,
Not,
right?
no.
And you can look at the backup on all of that stuff. Under the next group, which is leases, I would presume that we are all set with all the leases?
Yeah, and I had to do a journal entry for the bond and interest, because that was voted by referendum to buy it down, so.
Okay.
I did make it on the report, and the journal entry has been done, so it's not $28,025 in the hole. We're $14,000 plus for the good.
Okay. So that would be, in your sheet, that's what it would show, right?
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Moving along to insurances.
Actually, under leases real quick.
Yeah.
For the rescue billing revenues, we're 6 months into the budget and we have no revenues yet for rescue billing.
Or any other account.
Doing another account.
Okay. Well, it's listed under leases, it's listed as 4320 rescue billing under revenues. So where is it?
It will, when we transfer it over,
The journal.
Oh.
we'll journal it over, when the
So-
new rescue comes in.
This brings up a good point. We should make an effort of, especially seeing how it's gonna be showing out of that. We probably ought to journal it. We're now halfway through the year, that no reason that we couldn't journal over this, the half year point, right? So at
Do you
least,
have it there, Nancy? or
Yeah,
what?
I do right here.
What's collected so far?
Oh, no, what's collected so far?
Under leases. We got rescue billing, we budgeted 84,000 and it's showing nothing collected.
it's gonna be in your stuff.
Yeah,
Lisa, do you get the number?
yeah, let's get it now.
One
Oh,
twenty,
so we're way,
yeah, way over,
Collected as of today.
right, but that's split. Part of it goes to the rest, up top, the other part goes into your account, right? Trying to get to her sheet.
What you said it was 100 what?
122, 114, 20.
And that's not through halfway point, that's through,
That's till 129 today's date.
okay. So under the fire department, under the second piece of the fire department,
Page
Right.
three.
under public safety revenues, there's 85,000 budgeted in your public safety 70102, right? And then when you go back up to the leases, so we need like 160, right?
84,812 from the rescue billing goes into the lease.
So you're at 116, so we got half a year to go, so we should be all set, right? Is that clear to everybody?
Clear as mud.
All right. So that was leases. Stop me if you have a question. Insurances. We're all set with insurances, other than that, is the cost higher than in the second half, right? So do we have that number now?
Oh, we pay everything up front,
Okay.
but we've had some additional costs too.
Okay.
But we'll be, once we receive the reimbursements, we'll put it back in, like for the damage to the chimney.
And just as an aside for Aaron, was it public law 60 supposed to reduce insurances by widening the pool?
Oh, PL 90?
Yeah, we ought to have a discussion on that later. Okay,
You better start making your list.
for a small business. All right, so we're all set with insurances. Town clerk, all set there.
Yep, we're within 49.
Tax collector, good there. Treasurer, we're good there. And I'm only looking at what's spent. IT. David, you see your head up bobbing over there. Any risk?
No, I think
So-
we're right on track.
Any opportunity should we have to slow something down? Not that you got a lot to slow down,
I
but.
know they're going to get closer, further down the road.
Okay. Municipal building. So we're a little over there,
Yeah,
but
but
is
that-
that because it's out of the other municipal facilities account?
No, we don't use a municipal
Okay.
facilities
So
account.
they're now combined,
Right, and it also includes the work on the dam,
okay?
which we get a journal, I think,
Okay,
$7,000 back in now that the audit is done for previous
Okay.
appropriation for the dam, and also work on the boat ramp.
So that'll make the picture a little bit better,
Mhm.
right? Assessor, we should be all set
Yeah,
there.
he's a little over, he's 57 because we had to pay for the tax bills in October.
Okay.
Not tax bills, I'm sorry, the tax maps.
Code officer. He's actually collected a little bit more than what we had budgeted, right? But he's way underspent. Library, Ruth is just knocking it out of the park.
With the
Your revenues are down though, Ruth, you know. That $3,000 that we expect you to collect in book fines, you need to pick that up a little bit.
No, I read in the paper the other day, Ruth, that somewhere, the library in Vermont, I think it was, sent the police
Yes.
after a guy who owed for 20 years. Did you give him some flags? Did you give him any flags? No,
You're not gonna give that up, are you?
no. No.
Well done, Ruth. Parks and Rec, where's Michael?
He had,
The game.
He is playing basketball.
Okay. So his revenues are a little behind, but we know that that'll pick up in the
Mhm.
spring, right?
mhm,
And his spend is a little above, but that includes the summer program.
mhm.
So all we really need to know there is his spend profile gonna be less in the second half than it was in the first, right? Planning board is fine. Planning department. Why are we up there?
Because of the reimbursement
Oh, okay, yeah.
for Old Alfred Road has not come in yet, and since while Tom was out, I told him to work on that. Because we definitely have to have those funds in by June 30th.
So that'll show as revenue that wasn't anticipated,
Mhm.
right? ZBA, have they even had a meeting? I guess they have, right?
Mhm.
Fire department. Okay, anything that we should be excited about over here?
Where to begin?
Well, we haven't had any equipment failures in a couple of weeks, so.
That's good, no pump failures. and
Knock on wood there,
It's not
Matthew.
real quick. So,
Touch wood, as they would say.
Everything is in service as we speak, and the only line that we're really watching is the vehicle maintenance line. But we're working our internal controls on the spreadsheets that we have internally of being as frugal as we can and doing what we need to do and
And
watching
then-
the numbers.
In the new ambulance lease, right?
March, in March.
Okay,
April.
so does that mean that we did it come later than what we had anticipated in budget, or it came pretty much, or will come pretty much on time?
Yeah, it was 180, 100 and so many days from the date of signing the paper.
And we do have the, just so that we keep that in front of everybody, although I don't think anybody is suggesting that we use it, is that that $20,000.
We have, internally in the system, we've done a lot of spreadsheets and looking at different scenarios, shuttling stuff around, trying to figure out what we can do to make it work without even considering that additional dollar you mentioned. I know that we had some higher projections, it looks like, for our call pay in that line specifically, and a variety of others. You know, we've bought our gear. Some of the other functions we've done, we're just maintaining at this point, so we're pretty optimistic, so.
But your capital stuff is other than the ambulance. You've got the sniffers,
The what?
the sniffers, the exhaust system, right?
Oh, exhaust, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
You've got that installed.
Yeah,
You got your cots.
and the costs actually, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Nancy, but the way we paid for those will actually get reimbursed and
Right.
paid out again.
There
Because
wasn't,
one will be tied to the ambulance. and
yeah,
one isn't.
there wasn't any sense to take out two. It was just as easy to pay it up front, and then they'll give it us back when the ambulance comes in.
We have no other big capital things to work.
And the oil furnace and everything over there is okay.
The central propane job?
Well, we talked about changing that out, right? At one point in time, and
No, over here.
Yeah.
We got their old
We have a new,
That's
we
right.
had,
burner over here to
Right.
change out.
we put a new one in a little over a year ago, I think it was.
okay. But the one in south is also.
We have two monitor heaters down there, and
Okay.
they've been working great.
You know, just looking at this and looking at the budget process coming up, there's some areas, whether it be here in expenses for things that come up that you didn't plan on, so contingency type planning, as to whether we do a contingency fund for the whole town, depending, and having parts of it assigned to certain departments.
You mean like
you know,
the
just
state,
good planning.
like the state's rainy day fund?
Huh?
Like the state's rainy day fund?
It's kind of like that, and what it's all about is evening out the tax fluctuations, and so when you have something that comes up, you got something in the bank.
Well, with them, they do, with the fire department, they do have the ordinance that they can go in with the selectmen's approval.
Yeah, but we also, I think, need to have that for the town rule.
Right, so hydrant rental, we're now paying on a quarterly basis, is the way I read this. Which makes more sense for us. Ross Corner Fire Department.
We have not received anything from them.
So, I guess my question is a couple years ago, we talked about those guys not doing anything unless they did it through Matt. So who's the belly button that goes to them and says, if you guys wanna be reimbursed, we need the bills like now?
I don't know.
I mean, this is like,
It's independent.
this is like an independent agency that's out there that says, surprise, you know, you raised X amount of money and we're gonna send a bill in on,
And I don't have an issue with speaking to them directly. I'm not sure if I don't know, did anything ever come from the board or from the town of Waterboro saying this is the fund where the communications goes to the fire?
well, I think we can certainly write a letter. to that
And I don't-
effect.
and
When I
have an
get
issue-
something from them, I always forward it to you.
You know, I don't have. an
Now
issue
we have a
communicating.
contact
So
person.
let's make it very clear to them what the chain of command is and what the expectation is. Maybe we haven't done that. And I know it's not a lot of money, but this is like, you know, you got a fire department up there that goes to 3 towns they don't report brutally to any one of the three, right?
So there's no chain of command. I mean, he is, I mean, he can tell them what he wants and they can, you know?
Well, no,
They
no,
don't
it's
have
it's very clear, John, we hold the purse strings.
We hold the purse strings, but they provide the service. So they, in a certain sense, they're pretty independent. And the beauty of them is that they haven't raised any, I mean, they're
understand.
very inexpensive.
I have to say,
But they are pretty independent.
I have to throw the plug out for Ross Corner for their responses and for what they do.
I don't think anybody.
No, I just to, you know, obviously if they're listening or watching, that I think that, you know, what they have provided us
And they're a stellar example for the governor to use, right? This consolidation of services amongst municipalities. How effective it works.
I mean, they'd say, we have the purse strings, but they also provide pretty good service, and they could say, okay, you don't want us? Huh, see ya. And we said, you know, how do we fill that hole?
Well, I think it's a matter of, I don't think they, on a time schedule, I mean, last year we had to write to them and say, get your budget in.
But they need to be on a time schedule.
And I think some of it, and I don't know their practice from how they pay the bills, but I believe they set some of the community funds for specific pieces at different times of the year. I don't know.
Shapley's on a municipal, on a fiscal year budget, right?
Calendar year.
Okay, I thought Shapley was,
No, they changed.
I thought
don't know.
Shapley
I
was
thought they
fiscal
were
year.
calendar.
Alfred is calendar year, right?
Yeah.
So therein lies part of the problem. And I thought Shapley changed, maybe they didn't.
They were calendar year when they,
Yeah, I think they have calendar.
Maybe they still are.
when they got notice.
Yeah.
So all it is that we need to make sure that we've got an open line of communication with them, and maybe that's something that we're not very good at doing.
Yeah, and I think what you do, go over and knock on the door and say, you know, this is what we need from you, can we help you out?
Yeah, and maybe,
You know,
we
get it
do a monthly report, or, every 6 weeks or so, the fire department comes in. Maybe we need to start inviting Ross Corner Fire Department in on the same night that the fire department is coming in, so that we do hear from them.
So 2 quick questions for Ross Corner. Is it one that they've not submitted a budget yet for?
Yeah, they did this year.
They
Last
submitted
year they
budget.
didn't.
But
This year
there's,
they did.
I don't have any
They haven't
printouts for
drawn
Ross
it.
Corner, but
Haven't
nothing's been
drawn
expended.
anything.
No,
So
nothing's
it's-
been expended.
And then 6 months into the year, our year,
So theoretically, 50% of it should be.
but, I don't know where their headset is their headset, well, it's just a calendar year, and that could be part of the problem, is they're worrying about Alfred and Shapley on a calendar year basis, and they need to worry about us on a fiscal year basis.
Have they provided us any billable service this year?
No.
So
Well, they haven't billed us for anything, but they certainly have
They've
responded.
responded.
Right.
So we've utilized their services, but I'm not sure how they break down their budget that they
They usually
submit.
send in,
So we as a
They're
town
part of
owe
it.
them money for services that they've already provided?
No,
We don't.
we don't pay them per call response. We pay them based on that budget number that they submit.
they'll send in their Central Maine bills, the telephone bills, insurance bills equal to this amount that they have paid.
Yeah, we just need to,
I'm trying to find the accounting angle here.
well, they could be submitting, and I'm not suggesting this, but a phone bill could go to all 3 towns, right? We don't know.
Yeah.
So
I
somehow we
don't know
need to,
if the phone is in on it.
maybe we ought to sit down with them, and it doesn't have to be a big meeting. I think if it's Nancy and you and whoever that contact is, I think that can be pretty well laid out, right? Okay, well, we beat that $66,000 up. Transfer station, looks like he's a bit, just a tick behind in revenues, and, but he's further behind in spend, so. That's good in good in one direction, not so good in the other direction. And, as we get into budget season, we know that assessment number's going down by another 50 grand, right? So, Highway Department. So, URIP talked about taking that away from us yet, from the state, but you rep.
Because that's part of DOT.
We've actually collected 45.7% through the first half of the year. And we're spent a little more than half, Doug. So I guess the question is that where do we,
Well, that is because we had to buy the winter sand and salt, and
Yeah.
the plowing has kicked in, so.
okay, so so presumably the spend on that profile will be less than it was. How much salt do we have now?
Right now, we should have, I got 6 loads today if they delivered it all. We was down to half a shed full. We've used quite a lot of salt. For not having a lot of storms, we've had a lot of bad weather, just like this storm right here. We was out and the trucks are sitting in my dooryard right now loaded with salt because they're talking about a nice storm tonight. And I mean, you know, 2 storms ago, I have a truck that goes from the Lyman line to the Rosconna line and does Federal Street. That's all that truck does. And in between the runs, I get a call from the sheriff's department, said there was a stranded motorist up there, and they were sending a sheriff up there to assist the stranded motorist on Lasky's Hill, and wanted me to dispatch a truck immediately to sand the hill so that both the sheriff and the stranded car could get up over the hill. Now I got a truck going back and forth. It can only go so fast. Do you realize how much product we use just trying to maintain that? And at what point do we say we've done all humanly possible to try to make these roads, when it's raining, sleeting, snowing, and you're out there and you've got a truck assigned, a good average is 10 miles. I got a truck assigned to 7 miles, a wheeler. Okay, he can make several trips with 1 load, and yet we're not going, you know, but we're using a lot of material. And it's, you know, and it's sometimes because people aren't prepared.
Really?
Well, I just wanted to clue you in.
That wouldn't happen these days.
You know, I mean, that's just one thing. And, you know, as far as
Would yellow flags help in that situation?
maybe we need blue flags. But one thing is, on like some of the funds, the revenues that come in, I don't have any control over how those funds are designated as to what they go in. So if they're going to go for salt and winter sand, that may sit there the first half or the first almost half of the year, and then we're going to use that money in 3 months. So by the time we build our stockpile, we pay for the trucking, and we fill our salt shed back up, we've used half or 2/3 of the money in 60 days.
Yeah.
So, you know,
It's a seasonal account.
it's pretty much
Yeah.
seasonal.
And with the plowing, we start November,
I've gone over these.
November to March.
Nancy and I have gone over these things, and, you know,
So there's nothing in there that would suggest that we've got a concern going in the
Mike?
last 6 months.
my concern, and I have a concern, is that we have some kind of natural disaster.
That's,
Well, that's a contingency.
I mean, you know, that's my concern. If we don't have any disastrous things, we have saved money enough from last year, last fiscal year, or calendar year, or the first half of our fiscal year, to carry us, what's that?
Fiscal.
Physical, yes, physical.
Physical year.
No, physical.
Yeah, okay. We're
we'll
physically
get
poor
physical
anyway.
tonight.
So we've got money enough to go in and do our spring maintenance on our roads. We've got money left in our paving account, so that if we did have some type of a disaster, we might not get a road that we had on the list paved, but we'd have some money to do some repairs. So, you know, our gravel stockpiles, we were down to 0. We do have a couple thousand yards on hand, so I think we're in good shape.
And you still have some money in your CIP for roads too. So
Yeah, I got 63,000 left in my CIP, I got about 34,000 left in roads, so
Should be in good shape.
we should be in good shape, I think.
All right, general assistance, collected what? Reimbursement of state, $300?
Mm-hmm.
And, we spent 40,000? That'll be kicking in pretty quick. That is what it is. Education, spoon by that. Just so everybody knows that might be watching, education bill this year, is $7,085,000, so we send, just a touch, over,
1.7.
well, that's 2 months, right, 1.7, so it's half of that.
First.
About 800,000 a month. Okay, capital improvements, we're good on, equipment, right, that's gotta be everything that came in, the building, and the loader upgrade, no, the upgrade loaders. Loader wasn't in here, it was in the leases, right?
Right.
Unclassified, have any of the agencies not come to us asking, well, they're not in there, are they?
Yeah, they're under the, incidentals.
Yeah, okay. So are they, I mean,
They're all,
okay.
they're taken care of.
County tax we paid. And old home days, I think they're all set.
Mm-hmm.
I assume the Taylor house is probably because of that
Insurance
check we haven't got back.
Good.
All right, anything, any other questions that anybody has?
I think the department heads are doing a very good job keeping track and keeping budgets.
Well, I will say that this is the second year that we've done this, and we this one's a little late, but I appreciate everybody's efforts, because I know it takes a bit to put all the files together and everything, but I think it's good for us to look at and hear from everybody that we're managing the budget, rather than letting the budget manage us, so. Okay, any other comments? Under old business, just a quick review of our budget workshop dates. Thursday evening here, 5:30 to 7:30 or whenever we get done. And then Saturday morning from Groundhog Day from, what do we say, 9 until noon. So keep that on your agenda. Other business, warrants and bills of payroll. Anything, oh, I'm sorry. Yep.
Old business, instead on old business, right?
Well, yeah,
Just old business, I would request that we have another
session.
session.
Yep.
We really have something to discuss, and I wanna know how you'd like to us move forward, because we're kind of in a quandary. Our promises have been broken, and I want to know what if you want us to do anything about it, or whether you are gonna just sit back and wait to get payment.
No, I think we probably ought to have another discussion.
Like I say, I think I don't know what that says up there, it's the wrong month, I think, the auction starts on the 11th, I'll probably leave here around the 7th or 8th and be back in a week and a half or 2 weeks, so if we meet next Wednesday night, on Tuesday night at 5 down there, and we can get back here by 5:45, a few minutes, and then we'll.
Okay.
'Cause
So we plan on that, have a 5 o'clock at the site, and then we should plan on a, let's say 5:45 executive session. Discuss potential legal matters, I guess is probably the way to put it. Fifth. That would be on the 5th. Okay. Warrants and bills and payroll, somebody decided to make a motion.
I was just acknowledging Doug.
So, somebody wanna make a motion for warrants and bills for payroll?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor? Minutes of the January 22nd regular meeting,
So moved.
any discussion? All those in favor? Pending decisions haven't changed, I will forego rating those. Week's action list, just, Christina, you'll have to post us going to the town garage, right? How about agenda items for next week, folks?
And we're gonna be sitting down and discussing, following up with the town charter and new positions,
Yeah, I thought that we would stick that on for the 12th, but we can do it next week if we want to do a quick recap, see where everybody is. We can just put that one,
I think
put
we
it
need to
under
do it
old
next week.
business. Just put it under old business, and if we have something to report, we'll report out on it, if we don't, we won't. Okay,
Now, don't we have planned for next week? I had planned to report out to the board regarding
Yeah, I thought
my,
we
Yeah,
were supposed to do a quick.
okay.
so somewhere we had discussed that. Just put it on old business, charter implementation report out. Okay, anything else? Items needing signature, we got the warrants and bills for payroll, we got the minutes of January 22nd, minutes of December 18th, which were approved last week, on the 8th rather. IT manager's contract, which was approved last week. And then reminders, Selectmen's budget workshop at 5:30 here Thursday night, Saturday 9 AM here. Saturday on the 2nd, at 10 o'clock, the 2020 committee's got a South Village listening session, and at 2 PM have an East Village listening session. South session will be at the Lions Club, East session at the Free Baptist Church. Next Tuesday night, the 5th, Selectmen's meeting here, Old Home Days Committee, and Saco River Cable TV and Cable TV Committee report. Planning Board meeting this, on February 6th at 7 PM in this room. Conservation Commission, 5 PM, Old Town Hall on Thursday the 7th. Selectmen's Budget Committee, round 3, Thursday night, 5:30 PM, February 7th. Cribbage Tournament, February 9th, or Saturday morning, 8:30 AM at the Old Town Hall. There is a reminder here for those that want to go to the York County Advocacy Group, it's at 10 AM in the York County Government Building. And then Monday, the 11th, 5 PM, 2020 Master Planning Committee at the Central Station. And Tuesday, the 12th, back here for the Selectmen's meeting. The Road Review Committee will not be meeting. And it sounds like the Road Commissioner won't be here either.
Yes,
So-
3 of the 4 are all gonna be out of the state in warmer climates.
With that all being said, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
so moved.
Second?
All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you and good night.